Nobody in that courtroom knew what was about to happen. Not the lawyers straightening their ties. Not the clerk sorting her papers. Not the judge who had seen thousands of cases and thought she had seen everything. They were all wrong. The doors opened slowly, and he walked in. Not rushed. Not nervous. Just steady. Like a man carrying something heavy and refusing to let it show. He was 19. Barely. His dress shirt was a size too small, his shoes worn but polished like he had spent an hour on them that morning. His hands, calloused from warehouse work, hung at his sides. The room noticed him immediately. A few lawyers whispered. Someone in the gallery leaned over to another and muttered something under their breath. Because the last time this boy had stood in this room, he had been in handcuffs. His name was Dario. And 3 years ago, at 16 years old, security cameras had caught him slipping something under his jacket in a grocery store. Not a phone, not jewelry, not cash, bread, a can of soup, and a small bag of rice. His mother hadn't eaten in 2 days. He had tried everything else first. When they arrested him, he didn't cry. He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly like he had already accepted whatever came next. The judge that day, Judge Harlan, had looked at him for a long time before speaking. Something about the way he stood there, no excuses, no performance, just silence, had stayed with her. She didn't send him to detention. She sent him to a rehabilitation program instead. A decision that half the courtroom disagreed with. Most people forgot about Dario after that. The program staff checked boxes. The town moved on. And Dario disappeared into the kind of quiet life nobody pays attention to. 5 a.m. bus rides. Warehouse shifts that lasted 10 hours. Evenings that should have been for rest. But Dario wasn't resting. Every single night for 6 months, he rode the bus past his stop, all the way to the public library. He was building something. Something nobody knew about. Something nobody had asked him to do. And whatever it was almost finished. When the envelope arrived at the courthouse, Judge Harlan almost didn't open it. Hand-delivered. No return address. Just her name written carefully on the front. Inside were 12 pages. Handwritten. On notebook paper. Every line precise. Every word deliberate. It was a proposal. A detailed, researched, fully outlined plan to expand the youth rehabilitation program to 3 counties that had nothing like it. Complete with funding sources. Community interviews. Data he had gathered himself. The judge sat back in her chair and read every single page twice. Then she picked up the phone. Dario didn't know why he had been called back in. He sat in that same courtroom, in that same wooden chair, and waited. His palms were dry. He had promised himself he wouldn't show fear. Judge Harlan walked in, sat down, and looked at him the way you look at someone you underestimated. She placed the 12 pages on the desk between them. "Do you know what this is?" she asked quietly. He nodded. "Something I should have done sooner." The room was so silent you could hear the clock on the wall. She leaned forward. "Why, Dario? You didn't have to do this. Nobody asked you to." He looked at her steadily. "You gave me a door when everyone else gave me a wall. I just wanted to make sure someone else could find that door too." Nobody moved. The lawyer to the left stopped writing. The clerk forgot to type. Someone in the back of the room quietly pressed their hand to their mouth. Judge Harlan looked down at the pages, then back at him. When she spoke, her voice was different. Smaller. More human. "We are approving this proposal, Dario. All of it." She paused. "And we want you to lead it." The silence that followed was the loudest thing in the room. He said one word. "Yes." What happened next, that town was not ready for. Within months, teenagers who had been invisible started showing up. Not to courtrooms. Not to detention. To workshops. To kitchens. To each other. Dario never stood at the front of the room. He always sat among them. He never gave speeches. He just showed up. Every single time. Without fail. And slowly, without anyone announcing it, something in that town began to heal. 1 year later, at the program's first anniversary, a girl named Camille walked up to a microphone. She was 15. 12 months ago, she had been sitting alone in a school bathroom, deciding whether to come back. She gripped the microphone and looked out at the 50 people watching her. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. "I used to think," she said, "that people like me didn't get second chances." She paused. "Then I met someone who had one. And instead of holding on to it, he used it to unlock a door for the rest of us." The room didn't applaud immediately. They sat with it first. Because some things are too true to rush past. Dario stood at the back wall, arms folded, head slightly down, trying very hard not to let anyone see his face. Months later, someone asked him what he would say to the 16-year-old boy who stood in that grocery store holding a loaf of bread, terrified, with nowhere left to turn. Dario was quiet for a long time. The silence stretched out the way it does when someone is choosing their words like they matter. Then he said, "I would tell him, what they call your lowest moment is not your final one. The walls they build around you are not your ceiling. And the people who decide you are nothing do not get the last word. You do." Before we go further, if you believe that silent courage can change the world, subscribe to the Human Files right now. Every story we tell is one that almost went untold. This is the Human Files. Stories that almost went untold. People who almost went unseen. Subscribe, share, and tell us in the comments what moment in your life almost broke you but didn't.